Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining this. Welcome back to another week. It's been a week, let me just say that. I had a pretty busy week last week with the show I ran, which all things considered went pretty well. So as always, feel free to drop questions in the chat if you're joining us live. Otherwise, post questions in the comments and we'll see what we can do later. I am here to just chat about live streaming and answer questions. I can show you what's going on around the studio today. I don't have much of a plan, so we'll see what happens. I see a bunch of people in the chat already, which is always fantastic, and some familiar faces and some new faces, which is wonderful. And I saw a couple of good questions coming in already. Although I am curious what my new decoration is. Somebody said I have a new decoration. I hope I didn't have something on the screen that I wasn't supposed to. Oh, no, I can't find it. Oh, well. This was a good question, though. Do you think Blackmagic would ever add individual LUTs to HDMI inputs so if we had a few different cameras running on a live feed, we could match them before they go live? I assume you're talking about on the ATEM Mini Extreme or ATEM Mini. That is a great question. I suspect probably not in the current models, just because I think that requires extra hardware to do it in there. It would be amazing if they could add it in a firmware update. That would be fantastic. But I will also say there is a solution. You don't have to wait for it to get built in or wait for the next model. And the solution, okay, I admit it's not great for the ATEM Mini, but here's what I want to show you. The solution is oh, I have too many buttons today. There it is. Oh man, wow. That's not the right one at all. Okay, let's try that again. In case it's not clear, I have rearranged everything again, as always, because I was working on a show and I had to redo all of my inputs. So, okay, that's the button I was looking for. This is what I wanted to say. Oh, thanks, Merson. Thanks for the super chat. It was a great stream on Wednesday. Thank you for joining. I saw you in there. I appreciate the super chat. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll talk more about that in a minute. What I do want to mention this really quick. These little converter boxes, which these bidirectional ones have still been giving me a hard time, but these ones I have a bunch of also, and they're great. SDI to HDMI or HDMI to SDI. The trick with these is that this one, the SDI to HDMI, has support for LUTs inside of it. So if you have an SDI camera and you want to output an HDMI or even an SDI back out with the LUT, you can do it with this one. So the other ones don't have it for some reason, but I guess it's probably because the main use case for this would be SDI camera, and then you want to be able to stream that with color correction. So if you do have SDI cameras, great, you plug it in, load a LUT into this little box, it outputs HDMI and you can bring that into the ATEM. Now, if you have HDMI cameras and you want to use this, you have to then first convert to SDI in order to bring it into this. So it's a little bit of a extra hoop to jump through, but this is the trick. And I should have dropped the link to that before I mentioned it so that my timestamps work properly in case people go back. And I'll just do this, Blackmagic SDI to HDMI with LUTs. So if you are clicking this from the recap, scroll back like 30 seconds to where I talk about it. Okay, cool. Bunch of new questions coming in. This is great. Let's see. Let me go start at the top. We'll get to that one in a minute. Ooh, networking questions. Oh, that was the comment from earlier. The mic wasn't muted. Yeah, yes, that was my mistake. All my little automations are not quite set up reverted from the show on Wednesday. Let me just mention that really quick. So the show on Wednesday, that was a live stream I was doing actually for my day job, and that was a 10-hour long stream. It was I was not online the whole time, but The event was Developer Day. It was essentially a full day of workshops. So there's like 5 different sessions here. I did teach 2 of them live, and if you are curious about them, the recordings are available. You can go through them again. But I was basically running this like a full day live stream. So I started in the morning, did a little intro, ran my workshop, took a 30-minute break where I was rolling some slides in a loop and background music, introduced the next session. This one was pre-recorded, so I got a nice, hour and a half break-ish. I didn't have to do much while it was running, so I was able to prepare for the next thing. Actually, I was working on some of my slides for the last session during that. Took another break. This was another recording, and then this one was live. So this one I actually brought somebody in over VDO.ninja, and he was doing his workshop live, and that worked out actually very well. I did make a mistake at the beginning, and if you go back and watch the recording, you'll see I had two audio feeds from him. So I had the control room loaded up, and I forgot that the control room was loaded on the same computer that I was sharing his video out. So it meant that I was sending 2 copies of his audio, and they go slightly out of phase occasionally, so it was pretty distracting. Figured it out only about 5 minutes into it, so thankfully that was fine. And the last session was me again doing another live session at 4 o'clock. And that, at the end of the day, nearly 10 hours later, I got to call it a day, and it was fun. It was a blast. I got a chance to put all of this stuff to work. So that was nice to get an actual excuse to use that. That camera is not in focus. What's going on? There we go. Now it's in focus. So yeah, got a chance to put all this stuff to work and give it a job that is not just my YouTube shows. Okay, a lot of good questions coming in. Let's see if I can take some easy ones first. If you do have a question, make sure you mention my name so that it sorts it properly on my end. Or the word question will work also. Okay. Here's one. This is an interesting one. This may not be a quick one. What would I need, and how would I operate a friend's Stream Deck emulator remotely to switch a program? Do you have a tutorial? I don't think I have a tutorial about this, although this is a very good idea. But the main thing you need for this is networking tricks. There's not a lot of extra gear. So because the Stream Deck, or rather the, I would recommend using Companion, first of all, for this, not Stream Deck directly, not the Stream Deck software directly. So if you use Companion, that's what I use to make all the buttons to run the show. So this is, actually, yeah, this is live. So if I tap one of these, it'll switch to like the desk camera, and I can switch back to my main camera. The reason, so this is the emulator running on the iPad, and it's just a website. So I've just opened up Safari on the iPad, typed in the IP address of my Raspberry Pi that is running Companion, and then it loads up all the buttons. And it works just like if you had a real Stream Deck in front of you. So that's what I mean by it's mostly networking tricks. You need to get it to a point where you can type in the IP address of the machine on your friend's network that is running the Companion software. Now, this is why I say it's not exactly a quick tutorial, because how you do that is there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And a lot of it depends on the networking environment at your friend's studio. So one way to do it is using VPNs, and I like that option a lot. So if you use the little GL.iNet routers that I have talked about several times, I think, yeah, I don't think I have a tutorial on that. But this is the GL.iNet travel router. This is the travel router that I'm a huge fan of, and it is, yeah, you can see how many times I've bought this. There's a newer version too, which is fine. They're all basically the same. But this thing can be a VPN server. So the trick is you would go set this up at the studio as a VPN server, and you need to then do the port forwarding properly to get the VPN server to work right. But then you can take your laptop remote, VPN in, and load up the IP address of the the buttons. And you can do it from an iPad too. So you can VPN in from the iPad into the studio and do that. So that's how, I've been able to do that here since I have one of those running in my studio, and I can just go into the settings. Oh, I don't have it on this iPad. I have it on my phone and my other iPad. But you go into the settings of your phone, VPN in, and then you can just load up the IP address. So hopefully that gets you going in the right direction. There's quite a bit of stuff to consider when you're doing that, and it's unfortunately not the most straightforward thing because it is a lot of networking nonsense. So hopefully that gets you going in the right direction. David asks, do you have an update on how Mixeffect has affected your workflow since it's been out for a while? That's a great question. So I will say I don't use Mixeffect as my primary control surface. So when I'm here, I'm mostly using the ATEM software controls, kind of like my backup, and most of the show I'm running through Companion. So I'm looking at, I'm configuring these buttons, and I make these buttons that do very specific things. So I like having, not everybody works this way, but the way I like having these set up is like, I have a button, this one, which will set the input on the preview and do the auto transition. So it's like one button, and I will be immediately, it'll fade in to the other camera angle, right? So that's a simple one. A more complicated one would be like, let's see, this one where that's start the show. That's an example. So the music is playing on the countdown timer, the map is showing, and I'm ready to start the show. It's running a macro, which is actually something I did in set up in the ATEM ahead of time because it was I think it was mostly just carried over. I might redo this to just do the audio transitions, but this is basically enabling the audio on the camera and turning off the music. Or no, not turning off the music, just enabling the audio, setting the program input, and then sending this command to my remote graphics software. So it's doing 3 things to different machines, right? And then same with like this one. This one will do a bunch of different things. So it's going to do, this one I did do mostly in Companion. So it's got change the audio to the audio at the other microphone, turn off my camera audio, cue up that camera, press this button, which is actually the stinger button here, which is actually a button, let's see, and then change to wipe, and then go back to the mix. So actually that's old. I don't need that anymore. Stinger button, what that's doing is loading up a clip on the HyperDeck, playing the clip on the HyperDeck, and then running the cut operation. So if I were to press that, you would see, you'll see the stinger go. It'll cut over to the table camera, and then the microphone will change too. I'm not going to move. I'll just switch back in a second. So now I'm over here, and you probably can't hear me very well because it's the other microphone. So I'll come back, and that's how that works. So doing all of that stuff, I like doing all those actions queued up at the right time in Companion, right? So what do I use Mixeffect for, since that's the question here? Mixeffect is, in my opinion, a more flexible way of controlling things that the software control does. So specifically around SuperSource. And it actually came in handy during the show because I had to, on Wednesday, because I had to reconfigure which cameras were in which SuperSource box on the fly, because there was some unexpected things happening when I brought the live guest in, and I had to do some stuff on the fly because I had to join the stream in the middle of that, and I wasn't planning to. So having to create SuperSource layouts in this or in Companion is extremely awkward. So I don't have my other iPad here to show you, but creating SuperSource layouts in Mixeffect is super cool, super easy. So I was like totally not ready, not planning on having to do that. And I was able to load that up. I was like, oh, I know how I can do this quick. Loaded up Mixeffect, quickly created SuperSource layouts while it was in the preview window, and then was able to bring that on screen as if I had planned it all along. And it would not have been possible for me to do that quickly using this software control. The other thing that Mixeffect has saved me on a couple times is quickly changing streaming settings, because again, the only way to change the streaming settings in the software control Let me see if I want to make sure I don't have a stream key in here. So the streaming settings, I have all these loaded up, right? This is from my ATEM, and I can stream to all these different locations. Great. But what happens if I need to change the IP address of one of these on the fly? There isn't really a good way. I have to go load up an XML file and mess with that, and then go up to load streaming settings, which is really frustrating. So that's another thing Mixeffect has saved me on a couple times, which is being able to just quickly create new streaming locations from that software on the fly, because it's much better at doing that. So those are the two things that I've used very recently that have been very nice on Mixeffect. Okay. Shane asks, how do I go live on Facebook with the ATEM Mini Pro? This should be an easy one. There is actually, speaking of streaming platforms, if you look in the software control interface, which is you kind of need it for this, or Mixeffect, but if you look in here, there is a built-in one called Facebook, and it already knows how to stream to Facebook. So you do that and you punch in your streaming key. Now, I don't know what the Facebook side of it looks like because I don't use Facebook, but once you create the stream in Facebook, you'll get a streaming key from it, and you need to load it up into here. If you are looking at just the ATEM Mini Pro by itself, there's no buttons for loading that in, so you're gonna have to use some sort of either the ATEM software control or Mixeffect app to actually go and configure the streaming settings. And then it'll just work when you hit on air. And then you can press the on air button on the device if you want to actually go live. Would a dream device where you could add your own SDI, HDMI inputs plus outputs, but could also add expansion slots, would this be a fun device if it could exist? That would be fun. I feel like there is something like that Blackmagic has, which is not quite a switcher, but it's this universal video hub, and it is extremely expensive, but it's basically that. You can choose what slots to put into it. So you get like a bunch of slots, and then you can choose what cards to put in it based on what inputs and outputs you want. It's not exactly a switcher, it is a video router, but it would be cool to have that in the form of more like a video switcher. Mateo asks, do you suggest to buy a Chromecast also with an HDMI splitter or use OBS for your chat overlay? At this point, I think it's probably a better idea to use OBS if you're willing to get the graphics out of OBS in the right way. So let me explain. The Chromecast, that was what I used originally for that plugin, and the way that the Chromecast solution works is you load up the chat window like this in a browser, and then you actually need it in a regular browser so that you get the Chromecast window. And then you go up to here and you go cast, right? And then it'll show you your Chromecast here, which is cool. It's definitely a good solution. It means you get you use one HDMI input into your ATEM, and then you have to use Luma keying to key that out and crop it to get rid of the stuff on top. And I used that for a long time. The downside is that it is a wireless link to the Chromecast, which means occasionally if you look back at some of those streams, you'll see some artifacting of the compression of sending the image from my computer to the Chromecast, especially when there's movement. So even with that animation or things like that. So not the best, which is why I started looking for alternative solutions to that. And so the other problem with the Chromecast in particular is that it will only output HDCP, so you need to remove the HDCP encryption from it if you're going to be showing your chat. And some HDMI splitters can do that, but they can't advertise they can, so it's always a toss-up as to whether you find one that will actually do that. So it's not super reliable as a solution. There are other devices similar to the Chromecast that don't output an HDCP signal, so it works by default with the ATEM. Those are fine too, but again, you have the same sort of compression problem. And you're doing a Luma key, which means there's always going to be some little glitches around the sides. So what I've switched to at this point now is doing this inside of OBS, and that's why I changed my chat plugin to work that way too. So if you look at the chat plugin now, there is this button called Get Overlay URL, and if you click it, it removes the that's a good question, and my highlighting is working. So it removes that comment from the bottom, and then it gives you this URL. And if you visit that in a browser, it's just the graphics window for it. So this is kind of hard to show because I have to do it like side by side. So if I put that window over here, which is the wrong shape, but you'll get the idea. Andy says Chromecast 4 accepts Ethernet. That is a very good point, which will help somewhat with the motion graphics compression. Anyway, this is the window that you would then bring into OBS. And the nice thing about that is that OBS will capture this with a transparent background. And that means you'll get real alpha transparency and nice crisp edges. And then you have to get it back out to your stream. So for that, you have two options, which is one, you can stream from OBS, which is you can bring your ATEM into OBS, put the graphics on top within OBS and stream from there. Or you can output the OBS back into your ATEM, which is what I am doing. And for that, you can use the very small, little, what's it called? Capture Ultra Studio 3G. So the little one, where is it? It's not even on the main page because it's so small. This one, Ultra Studio Monitor 3G. So you can use this and it'll give you HDMI out from Thunderbolt. But if you want to do proper alpha channel with nice transparency, so you get the little alpha channels like you're seeing around this icon, you can use this one or this one, which this gives you two SDI outs so that you get the graphics on one and the alpha channel on the other. And then it takes two inputs into your ATEM, but you can get a real key. And that is actually what I'm doing here. So let me see if I have the right windows to show that I don't have my wireless camera on me. But you can see it in this multi-view. It's very small. Sorry, let me see if I can move that. I'll just move it to this window so you can see it. That monitor is going to be that. There it is. So this is the multi-view of the TV studio where I'm adding in the graphics today. This is the output from my ATEM Extreme, and then I've got my HyperDeck, which is the Stinger, and I've got the graphics for the chat. So you can see the chat text is here and the alpha channel is here. And it takes up two inputs, but that gives you a good key. And that's why we have nice crisp edges around the text there. And now I want to switch back so I can see what's going on. So that's a long answer. Hopefully that's helpful. That's yeah, I would say probably the Chromecast is my least favorite of the options at this point. Okay, I saw some questions about stuff I was just talking about. So let me... Oh, I have a blog post with a good VPN tutorial. You are absolutely correct. Thank you, Roland. I forgot about that. Let me find that link to drop that into the chat. That was in my... Was that in... No, that wasn't that one. It was the... Right, this is the one I haven't turned into a video yet. Okay, this is the blog post. So it's the remote interview kit blog post. So the idea is that in the studio side, you have the VPN server and then you have your streaming bridge, but don't ignore the streaming bridge part. For this, the important thing is that you are setting up a VPN server in the studio here. So this will talk about how to do that. And I think I talk about port forwarding in this. So that is, of course, dependent on your particular home router, but that is how to do it. Yeah, okay. Here's the port forwarding part. So this is my router's interface, but yours will look different. So yeah, thanks, Roland. I forgot about that. Okay, there was something else about, I swear I saw some questions about the stuff I was talking about. David says, love the answer about Mixifect. Oh, Adam is in the chat. Awesome, thanks. Okay, let's see. Any downside to bringing the HyperDeck output channels into ATEM Mini Pro, then going to ATEM Mini Extreme with only the output from the Mini Pro? The only downside would be that you can't key. So the HyperDeck can output both key fill channels. That's where you get the transparency in a different video window. The HyperDeck can output that also, which is, again, how you do it for, how you can use it for stingers. So if I run this stinger again, if you look closely, the edges they're angled, right? So they're not individual pixels. It'll have like a little bit of an alpha transparency fall off, and that works well in the when you have a proper alpha channel, and you can do that with a HyperDeck. So if you're running that into an ATEM Mini Pro and then outputting the Pro's output into the Extreme, the downside, which you can work around it, but what that means is that you can't alpha channel, you can't overlay your HyperDeck output on top of inputs that are in the Extreme, because you will lose the alpha channel across the HDMI. That makes sense, right? So you have your ATEM Mini Pro, which is outputting one HDMI signal to the Extreme, and you can do proper alpha overlays on anything in the Pro side, but not on the Extreme side. Okay. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Chromecast accepts USB-C Ethernet. Yes. Suggestions on how to do a proper green screen. I think I'm gonna refer you to some other videos on YouTube. But the most important thing is lighting. In fact, actually, I know the video to point out, which you may have even found already, because it's the green screen video on YouTube. How to green screen. It is. No, I'm not finding it. It has like, he has like 2 million views on it. Kevin, the basic filmmaker. Green screen. Here we go. Okay, 1 million. I slightly exaggerated. He would probably appreciate that. Basics of green screen. Everything you need to know. Drop that into the chat here. Basics of green screen. So definitely a good video on green screening. And yeah, the key is lighting both the screen itself and then lighting you separately. And that is the secret. That's the TLDR of that video. Oh, I saw a question about bringing in my guest. Okay, how did you show Claudio's screen along with him? How do you switch between you, him, and his screen, and combination of both of them? So, okay, this is, let me see if I can just find that video to show the context of this. The video is, he did not have good lighting, I will say. So this is the video from the workshop, and the you can see that it's actually similar to the layout that you're looking at now, and same kind of background. I just changed the colors. So this was his screen, that was him, and he was sitting in front of his computer using VDO.ninja. So the trick was that I sent him a VDO.ninja link, which brought him into the guest view of that, and you share your camera, and then you can also use screen share. So there's a let's see if I can show you what it looks like on that. Let's see, is that going to work? And then copy that link into another browser. yeah, so here I'm joining the VDO.ninja room. A little bit worried about what is going to show up when I do that. Hopefully it's my camera. Audio, Blackmagic. Oh, that's the Ultra Studio, so that's not going to show anything. Let's show the ATEM. Tunnel vision. Okay. Let's show this other webcam instead so that we avoid the tunnel vision. Cool. That's a great angle on me. But point is, there's a screen share button, and I can share a computer screen into VDO.ninja as well. So now both of these feeds are available in the control room, right? So I've got my webcam and I've got my control room. So then if you can use scenes. So I can add my camera to scene 1. I can add the screen share to scene 2. And now if I pull up screen 1, let's see if there's a way to show this in a way that doesn't get super confusing. If I show screen 1, it should show my webcam. There it is. And if I show scene 2, then it shows my screen. So 2 different scenes. I can, these are totally separate. And then what I can do is load those 2 browser windows up on different monitors. So I had 2 HDMI outputs from my laptop going into the ATEM. So one of them was brought in on input 3, one was brought in on input 4. And then to make this, it's the same as any other setup, right? So same way I'm doing this exact shot in this live stream where I've got myself on the left and I got my computer screen on the right. I had his 2 video feeds in the ATEM. So exact same idea. Did I take a picture of that? I may have taken a picture of that because it would be interesting to show what it actually looked like when it was live. No. Apparently I failed to take any pictures during the stream. Good job. But yeah, so this was just a super source layout. Once I got the videos out of VDO.ninja over HDMI, then there's nothing special about it anymore, right? It's just the same way you would bring in any other video feeds. So made a super source layout. This was the one that I had to do on the fly because I didn't know that he was going to be sitting in this position, so it looked weird having him staring off the side of the screen on the other side of the window. So if he was over here staring off the side of the screen, it looked really weird. So I had to scoot these around really quick, and it was much easier to do that in MixEffect. And then later I had to bring myself into the stream because we were chatting and like answering questions together. So, oh, that was a great face. So I had to bring myself in and make a new super source layout in order to do that on the fly. And I was super not planning on doing that ahead of time. So it worked out great. Okay, closing those windows. Cool, great questions. Let's see. We've got some more questions. Hugo says, I'm hearing a lot about SRT. Do you think it will replace RTMP over time? And what SRT free platforms do you know or recommend? I feel like RTMP is like so baked into so many things in the industry that it's not likely to completely go away anytime soon. And it's also not really meant to be a replacement for RTMP. It's meant to be, it's for linking to studios, not necessarily like streaming ingestion. So it's all these things can be repurposed for all these other different use cases, right? Which is why, for example, the Blackmagic streaming bridge, that's using RTMP as a way to link to remote studios, which is not really the original goal of RTMP either, but you can use it for that. I think SRT is also a good solution for that use case. But I don't think it's going to replace RTMP for streaming into platforms like YouTube, especially because YouTube is already experimenting with other things than RTMP, but that's HLS, which is the actual format that it ends up broadcasting to you when you're watching this. So you're watching tiny chunks of video served in small files played back in a row, with no gaps. And YouTube is creating those chunks of files from the RTMP that I'm feeding them. So I'm sending, one video signal, and they're chopping it up and slicing and creating all these files, putting them on the CDNs. They also have a HLS ingestion mode. So if you go to make a new live stream, let me just see if I can do this without showing any streaming keys. It should be fine. So if I go schedule a new stream, and then there's a thing in here which is, it might actually be after it's created. So here, I'll make a test stream. No, it's not made for kids. Nothing on my channel is made for kids. Just please remember that. Chat, make this private because I don't want to blast it out on my channel. There is a thing in here which talks about how to ingest the video, and where is it? Where is it? Oh, weird. Now I'm not finding it. I swear it was in here. So YouTube HLS ingestion is the word I'm looking for. This. Maybe it's not loaded up in the interface yet. I think it might. Yeah, that's what it is. It only exists in the API. So if you are creating a device that streams to YouTube, like the YOLO box or any other encoders, you have the option of pushing HLS to YouTube instead of an RTMP feed. And this is talking about like the details of how to do that. But if I remember correctly, OBS actually supports this already. So you can push from OBS via HLS into YouTube and avoid RTMP entirely. That's a lot of acronyms. So that's all just to say that I doubt RTMP is going away, but SRT is not going to replace, not going to be an ingestion format, I don't think. Hugo's saying, I was asking about SRT in the context of having a Raspberry Pi to receive RTMP feeds into my studio. SRT very likely might be better for that use case. Yeah. I don't think I've tried making a tutorial yet for SRT on the Raspberry Pi. That's the same use case as the Raspberry Pi streaming bridge equivalent that I created. It would be a good thing to try, but I think there's a lot of, there still needs to be more devices that can encode, can push an SRT feed before that's going to be super useful. That was a long answer. Sorry. Okay. Pod Studio says, you had the Smart Video Hub 2020. Yes, that's the one I have. Did you do the mod to make it a bit more quiet? Yes. Did it work, and are you satisfied now with it? The mod did work, yes. It is significantly quieter. It does not sound like a rocket ship anymore. It does still make a little bit of noise, but it's, I would say, a lot quieter than my 16-inch MacBook fans, which is notable. That said, I am a little bit sad that I didn't get the far more expensive ones from these ones, because they get bigger. These are, and it's like a super small device, but it's like 32. It's also $4,000 instead of like under 2,000, so it's a lot more expensive. But there's no fans at all, and you can go up to 64 on these. So someday I will get the gigantic one, because I could fill those up. I could totally fill those up. But I have been happy with it being quieter, and it does work perfectly. So. Okay, let's see. Oh, Graham says, at work I have two cameras, one SDI, one HDMI, and the colors differ a lot. Do you have any hints on creating a LUT to put in the converter so that they match? I'm not very good at color work. I will just say that. I've done it to make the LUT for my Blackmagic camera so that it looks very nearly the same as this camera, which is the Lumix. I'm not very good at that. I would recommend watching other people's tutorials on color grading to match cameras. I know there's some people who are very good at it and have good tutorials on color matching cameras. So that is what I would say. Okay. Any changes in your setup today? Yeah, I am doing things different from my normal show, but it is the same as last week. So last week I gave the overview of how I was set up for the Developer Day live stream, and that one that was a pretty big change. Which, let me see, I should have the diagram up still. Yes. So I do have the diagram here, which is, of course, the actual inputs are slightly different now, but this was, for example, how I brought the, 2 feeds from the guest. One was his camera, one was his screen share. So 2 HDMIs into the ATEM. But this is more or less like, how things are set up today. I've got my main camera over here. I've got my Mac Mini sharing this screen into input 2. Instead of my MacBook, it's 2 other cameras now. So I've got actually I can show you the multi-view, which looks like this. So I've got the table on the side angle of the table. I've got the desk camera over here, my table camera, overhead camera, whatever, right? So I got all sorts of stuff plugged in to this. But you might notice that there's no graphics and no HyperDeck plugged into the ATEM Mini anymore, because the output 2 of the ATEM Mini Extreme goes into the Television Studio HD, which I also replaced the fans on, and it is now significantly quieter. So this has really just one video input here, and then I've got the HyperDeck running in SDI, which is sitting right on top of it, running 2 SDI cables there. I've got the Ultra Studio 4K Mini, which is plugged into my computer, running 2 SDIs into it, and that's doing the Stinger graphic as well as the chat overlay from OBS. And then this runs SDI out into the web presenter, which is what's actually pushing to YouTube today. And if you look at my side angle, you can see this is the multi-view of that TV Studio HD. So I've got just the one camera angle and my graphics and HyperDeck. And this is the web presenter multi-view or monitoring view, so that I can see on-air status and the audio levels and all that good stuff. And honestly, I like this setup a lot because it gives me now 8 inputs for cameras. So I don't have to eat up 2 of these inputs for graphics anymore. I can use all 8 for cameras and my screen shares, and I actually don't even have enough things to put in it today because this is the iPod that's running the slide loop from the event, just to have something in that slot today. Same with that one. That was just running the music track and that animation. But now I've got 8 camera inputs, and I'm only using 1 input on the Television Studio HD, one of the HDMIs, and then I've got the 4 SDIs taken up for graphics. And I like that setup a lot. It works well. It frees up the ATEM Mini Extreme from needing these 2 also converters from SDI to HDMI. It does mean that I'm not streaming from the ATEM Mini Extreme anymore, so that encoder is just not in use. It's sending HDMI out into here. But that's also how I can show you the multi-view of the ATEM, because I can switch what goes out from HDMI 2, right? I can switch that to be multi-view, now you see it, and then if I switch it to just program out, you get the program feed. But yeah, this has been a pretty good combo. I'm pretty happy with this. The web presenter being the encoder at the very tail end of the chain. Speaking of, in a previous show, what app did you use to illustrate the connections? This is H2R Gear. That's an app from John Barker from Here to Record. And yeah, it's very cool. It lets you create these little wiring diagrams very easily. and you can create your own custom objects in here if you don't find one in the library that matches your equipment already. So yeah, on that remote guest topic, what's the best software to bring in a guest into your live stream with low latency? I did have very good luck with VDO.ninja. It worked quite well. We were, at one point during the stream, we were actually talking to each other and having a conversation back and forth, and it did work great. I don't think there was any noticeable delay, really. So that worked out very well, and I was happy that it was so straightforward. The other thing is that I never want to make it a lot of work for the guest. I don't want the guest to have extra equipment or have awkward time understanding how to use whatever software I'm throwing at them. So I don't want them to need to use OBS, for example. OBS is not beginner friendly, and VDO.ninja is more or less on the guest's end, more or less the same as most video chat software. So, choose your webcam, choose your screen share. It works the same as a guest joining in StreamYard, or it's very similar to a guest joining in Zoom. What light am I using to light myself currently? That is a good question. I always forget the name of this one. It is and for some reason I don't have it in a kit on the site. I got these a while ago. Why can't I find them? It is 2 panels. It's one on each side of the screen, and they're at slightly different color temperatures. So I'm always experimenting with what the lighting should look like. I think I like it. If I were to illustrate, so this is the one problem with these lights. If I turn this one off, you can see that's just one light now on the side. So I like having this one on low, but then also switched to a warmer color temperature on that side. And I think that looks nice. I always forget the name of these, though. So I'm going to try to find them for you. They are the drum roll. Do I have a drum roll? Wow, apparently I got them a long time ago. Ha! Found them. Let me grab the link. They are the LED Go lights. So it's this one. I got them in November. LED Go bicolor, and I got 2 of them. So they look like this, which they're super, super small, super slim. And they have this grid on them too, which helps avoid lighting up this wall on the side of me. So yeah, they're cool. I like them. Is there a compressor limiter setting for the mic inputs for the ATEM Mini Pro? Yes, there absolutely is. So I'm using one right now on this microphone. So if I turn it off, you'll hear a bunch more noise. So you're probably hearing the background noise of the room. That's the ambient fan level of all the machines in here, which is not too bad. But if I turn these on, it sounds a lot better. And the same thing exists on the microphone channels as well. So you can totally do that on the mic channels, as well as any of the HDMI channels. How can I drag and drop video files onto the HyperDeck? Do they need to be re-encoded? If so, how can that be done on Final Cut? Yeah, I haven't figured out how to tell the HyperDeck to reload the card. It's when you pop that card in, it'll reload the clips. There's theoretically a command that you can tell it to reload the clips, and I haven't actually had that work yet on the old HyperDeck. I haven't tried it on the new ones yet. If you want to be able to drag and drop them onto the HyperDeck from your computer, you need to load it up in an FTP software. So I need to find a better FTP software for this, for like just file management. But if you use any FTP system, let's say I don't have my HyperDeck loaded in here, but the ATEM Mini Extreme works the same way. So if I load up the ATEM Mini Extreme in my FTP software, you can see the card is there and it's got all the files that are recorded on that. Same thing happens with the HyperDeck. It shows up in an FTP software, and then you can drag files onto it. The problem is I haven't been able to get it to work where it's able to actually then see the new files. So you have to pop out the card and pop it back in, and then it reloads it. But they do have to be encoded in a very specific format, and all the clips have to match. So what I usually end up doing is doing everything in ProRes 4444, which is the one that includes the alpha channel so that you can do graphics with transparencies in the HyperDeck. And most of the graphics like Final Cut, Resolve, Premiere, that they all have options for encoding into ProRes 4444. So you just need to make sure that you're using the same format for all the clips, and then they will be all recognizable. Oh, same resolution, same frame rate, same format. Everything has to match. That's the one weird thing about the HyperDecks. Theoretically, the new ones will let you encode H.264 from your computer and load it onto there, but I'm not totally sure what the caveats are in terms of is there particular settings to use within that when you're making that file. So if you want the more guaranteed way for it to work, then the ProRes codec I've had very good luck with. Okay, more questions about the stream from last week. How did you stream on multiple platforms? I was watching from your server, but unfortunately, the stream was buffering. Oh, that's too bad. So what I used for the stream was the web presenter was pushing to a server in my closet, which is running Nginx, and that's the same setup like in my Raspberry Pi tutorial for the streaming bridge, where you go and install some software on it, and then you can use it to push to multiple locations, or in that one I had it output over HDMI, but you can instead use it to push to multiple different platforms. So let's see if I can show you an example of this without revealing any stream keys. I'll just blank these out since I don't need them anymore. So in the config for that Nginx server, this is basically what it looks like, where I make a new app called Developer Day. That's the address that my web presenter is pushing to, is like the RTMP server address of this machine, which is whatever, and then Developer Day. So that's the address of this machine in my network. And then it is set to push to two different places. So one was pushing to the web server I set up for the event, and it was also pushing to YouTube. So this is like this is basically a DIY restream server where I can just keep adding in destinations, and it'll keep pushing the feeds to those destinations. That's how I was doing that. Now, as far as the buffering goes, I'm a little bit concerned that you were seeing buffering because that machine that was doing the encoding was very beefy Amazon server. So that was running way under CPU, and then it was actually pushing the video files to Amazon S3. So it should have been totally fine and have no like bandwidth issues because it was not being served from my studio or anything like that. So I don't know exactly what end the buffering was on. I'll have to troubleshoot that a little bit more. But yeah, that was how I did that stream to both locations. And then on that server that I ran, it was running the software OwnCast. So OwnCast.online. This is a self-hosted video and web chat server. And you can push to this from a web presenter or an ATEM Mini Pro or OBS. And it's basically just like your own little live streaming server, just like YouTube. It's super cool. So I pointed people at, I installed this on an Amazon server, pointing people at that for the event. And nobody really knew it was OwnCast. It was just the behind the scenes thing powering the stream. It worked super, super well. It worked very well. OwnCast supports pushing the video to storage providers like Amazon S3 or other places. So that worked out great also. Another question about that event: how did I handwrite on the slides? That's a fun trick. I really enjoy that. So during my sessions, I was showing diagrams of things, right? Like showing how things are working. And let me see if I can find the spot in the video. Here it is. So at one point during the video, I am talking about how the stuff works, and then I will draw. Here it is. So you'll see you can see I'm scribbling on the slide, right? And drawing a line. The trick is so that the slides were playing from my computer, from this Mac, M1 Mac. Slides were loaded up in Keynote, full screen out one of the HDMI ports on the Mac into my ATEM. The trick is that if you have an iPad can run the Keynote, can be a remote for Keynote. So you can use your iPad as the presenter view to see like the current and next slide and your presenter notes. If you have a pencil, Apple Pencil, you can tap on the slide and it opens up and lets you draw on the slides. And whatever you're drawing on the iPad gets sent to your computer so that it is then shared out on the stream. It's super cool. I love it. I do it all the time for that. It works great. So that is the secret. Are there USB-C to HDMI adapters to connect USB-C webcams to the ATEM HDMI input? I've seen one on YouTube from someone who looks like they are making it themselves. I'm not convinced it's a good idea to do that. Essentially, I'm pretty sure all it is a little Linux computer that is pulling that video feed in and outputting it over its monitor. I actually tried building one of these out of a Raspberry Pi. It technically works. So you can set up a Raspberry Pi to take a webcam and then just like output it over its monitor, what it thinks is the monitor, which could be your ATEM. Technically works, but I was getting really bad performance. I was seeing a whole bunch of screen tearing in the video on the Raspberry Pi. So maybe if I had a machine with a better graphics card, it would be totally doable, but at that point you're basically using a full computer. So I don't know. It was I haven't seen any other devices that do exactly that either. Here, Alex says, I have a Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro, worked on StreamYard for a while, and the laptop had an update, and StreamYard stopped working with the ATEM. Strange. StreamYard isn't doing anything special with the ATEM, so what I would say is see if StreamYard can see any webcams. So like the built-in webcam or other webcams that you might have around, because it could be something that happened in the browser, but there shouldn't be anything unique about the ATEM as far as StreamYard goes. StreamYard is just telling the browser to list out the webcams. Not sure what to tell you. It should be fine. It should work. There's also, I don't know if you have a Mac or Windows. I don't know anything about Windows computers, so I'm going to be zero help there. Morton asks, what experience do you have with DisplayLink hubs? Seems the only way to extend the Mac Mini M1s by more monitors. That's what I've heard. I haven't tried any of them yet. None at all. Super interesting to see if that does work. But yeah, I haven't tried it. When I was doing the screen share remote guest, I was using my 16-inch MacBook Pro, so not the M1, and I did just plug in two regular HDMI adapters into the laptop to get the two external HDMI feeds. But yeah, I'd be curious to see if I have luck with the DisplayLink ones. I've heard people use them fine, so I don't expect any surprises there. Can you give a quick run through of your YouTube chat plugin? I have a video about it, so that's going to be better than me doing it again here, because I do have a video that's relatively recent. Yeah, here's the link to it. The YouTube live chat plugin. So this one is here. And oh my God, I keep pausing myself in that awkward blink. But this goes through the whole thing. It goes through the whole setup instructions and how to use the pop-out chat window, which is the new thing. So definitely take a look at that. It's a good short little video. Just get a Brio, which has USB-C and HDMI. Yeah, that's probably the right call. Do you think the Raspberry Pi 4 has enough power to run 2 VDO.ninja feeds, one browser tab for each of its HDMIs? I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried it. I think it barely has enough power to run one. I have used it before for VDO.ninja feed, and I still do see some screen tearing in it. And I've tried a couple of the tweaks that are recommended to tell Chrome to run in faster graphics mode or whatever. And it's better, but it's not perfect. So that's actually why I used my laptop last week, because I had better luck with that. No screen tearing issues. You would never know it was running from VDO.ninja. So yeah, I would be a little bit concerned about trying to push 2 video feeds out of it. Do you think the ATEM Mini Pro is better than the Roland V1 HD? Yes, I do, 100%. The main reason is because the ATEM Mini Pro has the recording and live streaming feature in it. And the Roland V1 HD is more like just the ATEM Mini original without those. So, yep. I saw this stream as I was browsing about. YouTube suggested it to me. Hey, thanks, Consistent Ash. Glad to have you here. Yes, streaming is a great way to stay connected with the audience. It is also the only way I'm able to consistently produce content on YouTube. I have several videos that I am behind on. I keep streaming. I live stream using my Canon M50, no clear HDMI, so I use a micro USB. Yep. That is the problem with the Canon cameras. They don't do clean HDMI until you get to the really expensive ones, which is why I like the Lumix cameras so much. And honestly, this one that I'm using, so if you're wondering, this one that I'm using here is the Lumix G7. This is what I have at my desk, and it is just great. It is affordable and looks great, looks fine. I have no complaints. I can put a bunch of different lenses on it to make it different angles. And yeah, I've been happy with this one. I've been super happy with it. Okay, scrolling through the chat. Let's see. It looks like people are posting the same question multiple times. Try not to do that, because it messes me up, because then it looks like I've answered a question, but then it shows up in multiple places and it looks like I haven't answered it. I will try to get to the questions if you ask them. How do you export alpha channel from DaVinci Resolve? That again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but it's look for the option of ProRes 4444. Fourth 4 is the magic there, and that will give you the alpha channel. You do also have to have your oh, there's another checkbox. I just did this too because I exported the stinger like 2 minutes before this live stream, which is why I was a little bit late. But let me show you the extra secret checkbox because I messed up the first time I exported it. If Resolve will load for me. Let's see. Here is a video I can load. It's not going to have an alpha channel in it, but so when you're looking at the export, you go to the format, choose QuickTime, and then you can choose Apple ProRes, and then you can go down to this 4444, and then you have to choose Export Alpha. If you don't click that, it won't export the alpha channel. And now if your canvas, this video clip is my little promo reel for the stand, but if you had a video clip that had a transparent background, then it will then output the alpha channel. Otherwise, I missed that when I first exported this morning, and I was like, why did the alpha channel not show up? So I had to fix that. That's the answer. I noticed the chat overlay plugin has a gap on the right. Was it intentional? The plugin has a gap on the right? Not sure what you mean. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Sorry. Sonia says, will you recommend one of your videos or live streams as a basic ATEM Mini Pro tutorial for beginners? Let me think. What do I have that's like a good beginner video? Because I've kind of just, these shows have gone off the deep end recently. When I'm talking about all these different things I'm doing with them. What would be a good one to get started with? Some of my early, like super early videos might be a good way to start, because I have some, I don't have like a generic getting started, but I do have, back in my old thumbnails, I have a couple of these ones. So this one's actually a good overview of like how I was using the ATEM Mini, the original ATEM Mini at the beginning for these workshops I was doing. So that's what's the title of that one? Best gear for remote presentations. Then there's also the titles and graphics one, which is a popular one. And that one is great because it talks about the different options you have for bringing in graphics into the show. But hey, maybe that's a good cue for me to go and do a new sort of beginner video for it about the ATEM Mini. Oh, this is an interesting point. The alpha export works only on Mac, not on Windows. I had no idea. This is how much this is a little I know about Windows. I did not realize that. So as a plugin you can install in Resolve to get the alpha channel. Okay. Interesting. On the longer chat posts on the right side of the box, you'll see a tiny gap. Oh yeah, no, that's supposed to be there. It's not supposed to go off of the edge. I don't know why. Just got my Resolve Studio and they sent me a free speed editor, which alone would cost the same as the studio version. Yeah, I don't really understand what's going on with their pricing for that. You can spend $300 on software, or you can spend $300 on the speed editor hardware, or you can spend $300 and get both of them. And they tell you that they're sending you the hardware for free, which seems like the opposite way that it would be, which is that you would get the software for free, which doesn't cost them anything when you buy one. But cool, yeah, cool. What do you think of using Playout for playing videos on a live stream? I haven't really used the new one recently. Ever since he switched it to be a browser-based video player, I haven't really used it. I've played videos on. Do I have one of these that's accessible? Yes. On these little things, which are the little. You pop in an SD card and then here. So watch that one. It's a little video player, and you pop in the SD card, and then it'll just play whatever's on the card. And these are cool. HDMI out, so it's easy to use with the ATEM. They're like $40 or something. But yeah, I don't know. I've had those, so I haven't really needed to set up a Raspberry Pi as a video player. But I know a lot of other people have good luck with Playout on a Raspberry Pi. But I haven't really needed to do that. That is I think there's a link to that device down in the description. But just in case, it is this Agptek, also the MKII spec works, but this one happens to be the Agptek player. Okay, so let's see. Oh, we're way past the top of the hour. I want to just again make sure that you know about the promo going on for my stands. So if you haven't found these stands yet, I highly recommend taking a look. This is the PK1 Pro ATEM Mini stand. Pre-order right now through September 15th. Oh, Philip, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I will get myself a fancy drink to celebrate the Developer Day stream. That was a stream. That was a blast. Thanks for the super chat. But yeah, if you haven't seen the stand, this is what I've got on my desk here. So I've got the big one for the Extreme with the little Stream Deck extension for it. And the new one is the redesigned version of the one for the ATEM Mini. So I've got a new design here. Been working on for a while where I wanted to get the clips so that it actually holds down the ATEM because the original stand didn't have that ability. So, and I wanted to be able to do custom nameplates. So now you can get your own name printed there. That's our promo right now. So that's our launch promo. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Here it is. You can get your name printed there, and that is thanks to YOLOBox, who is sponsoring this promo during the launch period, during the pre-order period. So you can go and try this out. It's actually really cool. You go to, here, I'll drop this link in too. Preview the faceplates. You can go in here and type in whatever you want and say, type in your name, see what it looks like on the stand. It's a fun little thing. And then, yeah, if you order these right now, you will be able to, the stores have a little field in the order forms for typing in the custom text. And this one, I might need to go over to the table. For we had a bunch of people who wanted to use the Stream Deck XL with the small stand, the small ATEM Mini, and I didn't originally have that stand for it. So people were ordering the XL stand for the Extreme and the new small stand, which don't work together. So now I have redesigned this to work for the ATEM Mini, small ATEM Mini, and now it works. So this combo does exist. I don't think we have the purchase pages up yet for this, but if you have already accidentally added the other one to your cart, we will fix it for you and you will get the right one. So don't worry. And these will be live on the websites very soon. But yeah, so now you can add the large Stream Deck XL to the small ATEM Mini, and that combo now works because we had a lot of people who wanted this, surprisingly more than I was expecting. So happy to make that happen. It wasn't that much extra work. I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out too. What's the easiest way to show? I don't think I have my little camera. But you can see that the way that it attaches is this very small little bracket here, essentially. So it's using the foot from the stand on that side, but it's got its own foot on that side. So I'm happy with how that turned out. I like it. I hope you like it too. So yeah, the Stream Deck XL, this is why I wasn't sure people would want this combo, because the Stream Deck XL compared to the size of the ATEM Mini is actually quite large. It's the same depth basically, and then it's nearly the same size this way too. ATEM is only slightly bigger than it. So that's why I was like, I didn't think people were going to want this, but then a lot of people asked for it and people bought this combo even though the combo doesn't exist. So I decided to make it happen. Are the stands compatible with the ATEM Mini Pro? Also, yeah. So the deal is oh, thanks Darren for the super chat. Double up on the beverage. I appreciate it. I will go and celebrate with that. Yeah, Sonia, the ATEM Mini, the Pro, and the ISO, all of the like small form factor, all of the ones that look like this, these are all the same physical size. So that's not actually doing anything. Let me unplug that so I can wave it around. This is why I like the clips, because then you can just do this to it. These are all the same physical size. So the small ones all fit in this case stand. You can use the clips to stop it from falling out. And then the two extreme models, the extreme ISO and the regular extreme and extreme ISO, those are also the same size, so those fit in the other model of the stand. Swag Magazine says, I just received the Stream Deck XL extender for the extreme. I added a couple of shims to adjust the height since it doesn't sit right. Assume you mean it. The extension should match the extreme height. Like they should have the same rubber feet on the bottom, so they should be all flat. So hopefully you're just shimming it to like adjust in your particular desk setup. Otherwise, let me know, because that would be a problem. John asks, will there be a 3D file for printing our own faceplate for those who previously purchased the files to print? The original ATEM Mini stand doesn't have a way to do the faceplate, which is the other reason I wanted to redesign it. So the original one, there is no way to attach a faceplate on the small one. On the DIY Extreme, that should have already come with a faceplate, which you can modify yourself. I don't have a way to make it so that you can like actually download the STL from that preview tool. The preview tool is just on the website. So I don't have a way to like automate the process of creating those for you to download, but there should be a file in that one that you downloaded that you should be able to change if you wanted to make your own. But we're also working on a way that you can actually just buy these from us directly, both this one and for the Extreme. Those are not ready for, those are not actually for sale yet, but we're working on it. So people were excited about that. So we're going to make that happen as well. Just for my desk setup, it sits to the right of me. The shims let me see buttons better from that angle. Cool. Cool. Oh, Jim, this is a good point. The thing about the PlayLB is that it emulates a HyperDeck. Yes. So I should have mentioned that. The little Mika spec player that I use is not really automatable. It's, you pop in an SD card, it plays, but you can't like control it. There's a remote that you can use like a TV remote, and you hit stop, you can hit play. It's not a great control interface, so I mostly use it for things that are going to play on an infinite loop, like background graphics for SuperSource, for example. Great for that. Or I did actually use it for playing back the recorded streams from the Developer Day show, because they were 1.5 hour long recordings. So as long as I started at the right time, and it doesn't even have to be like exactly the right time, it just has to be plus or minus a couple seconds, then it just ran until the end. So I would never try to use that for stinger graphics like within the show, because it's not, you can't queue things up instantly. Whereas PlayOutMe emulates a HyperDeck, which means you can tell it to load certain clips, change what clip is active, hit play, hit pause, all from software. So thank you for pointing that out. Cool. Okay. So thanks all for watching. Let's go back to here. Thanks for watching. This was fun. A lot of good questions today. And hey, I like the suggestion of doing a video for beginners, basic tutorial, getting started, because I haven't done that in a while, and I feel like there's a lot of new stuff that I would probably talk about compared to how I was explaining things a year ago. So over a year ago. Thanks for the super chat, Steve. I appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Again, the pre-order period for the stands, this is going to be your chance to get that custom nameplate in. It's first in, first out, so the sooner you get your order in, the sooner you will get it in the mail, because those do take time to produce. So if you are thinking about it, please do get your order in. That runs until September 15th. And then I don't know when we're going to be able to offer the nameplates again. I'm trying, no promises on that. So if you do want it, now this is your chance. And yeah, hopefully the new Stream Deck, thanks, John. Hopefully the new Stream Deck XL is a good addition for people's kits as well. I could add a delay to my stinger. Yeah, this wasn't really supposed to be the stinger for my transition between the two sets, but that's what I get for making the graphics last minute. It's also not quite perfect. I feel like the timing is just a little bit off of how those blocks move. So I need to spend some more time in After Effects tweaking the little curves. It's a bit of a challenge. So yeah, okay. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the super chats. And I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody is enjoying all the different shows. I will be on John Barker's show tomorrow. We're going to be talking about more remote contribution workflows. So talking about, I think I'm joining him via SRT tomorrow from the Pearl Nano. I think that's the plan. Anyway, his channel tomorrow. I think it's roughly this time tomorrow is when I'll be live. So definitely go check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. That link to his channel is down below. Also, if you want one-on-one help, he is a great person, a great resource to get one-on-one help from. That link is also down below. So with that, I will see you all next week or tomorrow. Bye.